Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp of the Limp, and we're going to jump right back into where we left off with some Fields of Fire. I touched on some of this in my previous example video, but I want to make sure I verbally address it. There were some line of sight issues over here because I was looking at the open fields. They're, white borders, so I can see all the way through. But no, you got to count the hill so it blocks it. Okay. The line of sight thing with the hills can get wonky, so make sure you pay attention to that. When I moved up my fire teams over here, the individual fire teams, I should have broken them down into assault teams. Now, I could have done that. These guys can break down into these assault teams. So it was really just the wrong counter being used. Assault teams have some privileges that fire teams don't. I personally, I don't get it. You see here in the rule book, this is page 26, talks about assault teams and then fire teams, litter teams. This is for all those limited action teams. And depending on the team, the different teams going to have different abilities. And really, squads operate based on, Marines operate with fire teams so often that, a fire team is going to do everything. We're never not going to move and investigate an area. So I don't agree with that rule personally, but it is what it is. I think that might have more to do with the way the units break down into the different teams versus what they are, like assault and fire. Is neither here nor there. Big one was to make sure I adjust the fact that I'm going to resolve potential contact markers correctly this time and not as I run into them. That was a big issue on the previous one. I shouldn't have done that. My big goof, like I said, I was still in review mode, and in review mode, I don't always follow the sequence of play because I'm busy trying to explain the majority of the game. So that was my goof in trying to film my example of play directly after a review video. So don't do that. I think that's the most of it. Little issues might still pop up here and there. And like I said, that's going to have to do with the fact that Fields of Fire literally just has so many little moving parts. There's so many not tiny, but just so many little minutiae rules that it can get bulky. It can get unwieldy. Now, like I said, they've done a great job of updating this rulebook to make it much easier, and it flows so much better than it did previously. But still, learning everything is one thing, but retaining all the information is another. And that's something I personally have a problem with. My brain just isn't what it used to be. Landmine blew it up. So, yeah. Some stuff just isn't going to stick. And if I miss a thing here or there, it is what it is. But my kids are playing quietly, so I'm going to try to film at least a quick part of this video. It may or may not be its own video, depending on how far we get. I had moved forward with my squads. I took a couple of casualties, one actual casualty, litter team, and then this squad over here was able to reconstitute, which was good. But now none of these guys are under any volumes of fire, so I can issue them orders freely to become unpinned. The rally action is either automatic or it's a draw, depending on if there's volumes of fire. So in a situation like this, where I'm not taking any fire, then it becomes automatic and it's much easier. Plus this litter team, I can reconstitute them. I can bring them back into the fold. So I can turn them back into a fire team and then have that fire team rejoin with this team. But I can't do it as they are now because they don't have any commanders here. There's no one there to issue these orders. All the commanders are still back here. I've got the camera farther forward because we're going to be moving pretty much everyone forward on this turn. Not over here to the hill. We're not going to mess with the hill yet. But over here we are. And I do have one commander, the first sergeant. He's over here, so he could issue orders, which is good. But I think we're ready to just start up, and give me a sec. I don't remember if I shuffled up the deck or not, but I'm going to go ahead and shuffle it again just to make sure. All All right, so we are definitely going to make sure we walk down the sequence of play. Friendly, higher HQ event phase starting turn 2. We are in turn 2. They are going to, or I am going to, draw an action card, and if the HQ icon is present, determine a event. So we draw a card, and our card has an HQ event. That's what that little icon there means. So, well, let me grab my little thingy here. We have a chart that comes with every order of battle, right? So every order of battle for every scenario that you play is going to have one of these higher headquarter events for you and the enemy. So if the enemy gets an event, it's this. If I get an event, it's this up here. And then it's based on the turn. So we are in turns 2 to 4. So we're going to draw here. We will draw a card, and we are looking for out of 10. 10, we got an 8. Trying to make sure I get the glare off the cards. 8 is battalion, mortar platoon, unavailable. Your units cannot make a call for fire action, HE or Willie Pete from battalion mortar. Well, I wasn't going to do that this turn anyway, I don't believe, so that's not really going to affect us, but hey, we lost out on battalion mortar. That is bad. All right, so similar to what we saw in the previous turn, let me grab, where's my HQ? I always mix up these counters. Here we go, company HQ counter. Throw him down. We draw a card. We figure out how many orders. He's gonna get 6 orders. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now this is one thing I do that you really technically shouldn't do. You're supposed to do it like in order. But I find this works easier for me to keep it in mind, is to get all the orders that I'm going to have for like activating my commanders, and then all the orders I'm going to have for general later, right? And do those after. That is technically the way you do it. But I go ahead and draw for all those orders. Technically, you're not supposed to do it that way, but it's easier for me to remember. All right, we got 6 orders. Who am I going to activate? We know we're going to activate platoons 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's going to bring us down to 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll activate tanks. That's 2. And I can activate the XO and the first sergeant. Yeah, I can activate everybody. 1, 2, and 3. Tanks, HQ, and first sergeant. Okay. Yeah, because I got 6 counters left. I'll go ahead and flip that over, and I just draw, and I get all the orders they're going to have, and then I start working them out. Yes, technically I should do 1 platoon at a time, but for me, it makes it easier. All right, first platoon, where's he at? First platoon's going to have 4. Second platoon's going to have 5. We're starting off good here. We're starting off good. Second platoon's going to have 5. Third platoon's going to have 4. That's going to have 4. Very nice, very nice. Tanks are going to have 3. And I guess technically I should call the order of this, but I'll do the rest of it in rank. XO and then first sergeant. XO is going to have 2 because he's a loser, because he's an XO. First sergeant's more power, and he gets a 1. 1. What a loser. Come on now, first sergeant. I expect better out of my first sergeant. All right, now that's the way I do it. I find that easier for me. That's a little out of order, but that way I know all the orders I'm going to have for all my guys that are getting activated. Any general initiative orders I would handle after I do all of this stuff. But this is good. This gives me a lot to work with. Now I can handle these in any order I want, but I know what we're going to be doing because I have units in 3 cards ahead, and they are under no fields of fire, and we have activated all of these potential contacts out of order, but we've activated them. So I want to get commanders forward. I want to issue orders to remove these pinned markers. I want to get basically everyone ahead while I don't have to worry about any enemy activity, at least for the most part. I mean, some things could happen, but I'm not too worried about like an enemy HQ event. If something bad happened, I'll just deal with it. All right. I want to issue orders for a whole platoon move. Now, this is something I don't know, and I'm not going to go digging in the rule book to find out. I'm going to treat it as I'm right on this, but you guys annotate it down below if I'm wrong. When you activate a platoon, so you can do a platoon move, right? I am unsure if that platoon move includes attached units or not. I think it does. So like every one of my platoons down here has machine guns and anti-tank and mortars attached to them. Well, two of them have machine guns, but they all three have mortars and anti-tank assets. I believe that the attached assets come with them. I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that is the truth. I'm going to treat it that way. Like I said, I could be wrong, but we'll see. All right. Here's my thought. I would like to do infiltrate movements because if I platoon infiltrate, which that is an option, right? Attempt to infiltrate, adjacent card, attempt to have platoon, yeah. And there's a draw. You can infiltrate with all units that do not have a heavy firepower or tripods. And my machine guns don't have tripods. I mean, it kind of shows them on a bipod, but they don't count as they don't have that little symbol. I'll show you guys instead of just saying it, but like my old machine guns, y'all, right? No tripod symbol. So if I have them try to infiltrate, it would prevent them getting the exposed marker. I'm not horribly worried about the exposed marker this turn because it'll go away at the end of the turn and I don't anticipate having too much bad stuff happen. But if I have them infiltrate and they don't get the exposed marker, then I can have them make a move for cover. All right, give an order to move to cover, which is what I would like to have them do. All right, so let's move some stuff over. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this casualty off the board. Technically, I kind of cheated a little bit because I hadn't placed the casualty collection point prior. I should have put that prior before getting casualties, but it is what it is. I forgot to put it down. My casualty collection point is there, so I evacuated one casualty. That worked. Let's move this guy over. We know he's pinned. We'll start with first platoon, work our way down. How many orders? I think it's 2 orders for platoon stuff. Yeah, attempt to have a platoon, infiltrate. All right, all good order units of that platoon on the same card that are not exposed. Have each unit in the platoon perform an attempt to infiltrate to an adjacent card. The way I'm reading that, since it says have each unit, that means I'm drawing for each individual person or each individual counter, which is, but okay. All right, 2 orders. Let's flick him over. I'll put him on top since I'm actively doing him. He's got 4 orders. We're going to spend 2 to issue order. XO's there. Actually, let's do the XO first. We'll have the XO issue the platoon order to take everyone over there. That will burn his 2 orders and get everyone except for the tank off this card. Yeah, we're going to use the XO's order instead, and I'll save the first platoon HQ's orders for later. Give me a sec. I'm going to draw real quick and see who gets to have cover or not. Okay, that worked out crappy. That worked out very crappy. The only one who successfully infiltrated was the platoon HQ. He was the only one. We will also bring all their assets. I'll just set all this to the side. I am putting this on the board just to remember that I have it, but technically that is not something that you usually put on the board. I'm putting it there so I know that I have that asset. We got some phone lines as well. They're not deployed, right? The phones are all connected back here. None of these phone lines are actually being deployed. I'm just keeping them there. That way I remember that this platoon has access to this equipment. Oh, and the mortars. The mortars did not do that. So these two could seek cover. These guys can't. They are all exposed because they're losers. That was a lot of drawing. I'm going to have to shuffle the deck already. All right, that takes care of the Exo's orders. I believe I did that right. You guys let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe that I can move all the units and the attachments since they are attached to the platoon when I do a platoon move. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You guys let me know. I'm not going to dig through the rulebook to try to find that little tidbit out, but I think I'm right on it. All right. One order for first platoon is going to be to remove the pinned marker. I do not have to take and issue the order, but I do not have to draw for it because there is no volume of fire. Now we will seek cover. So these guys are under cover here. That works. Let's put that there. And I'm trying to kind of keep them separate so I understand who's who. These guys are all under this cover. These guys are all exposed. But that's not horrible. It's not horrible. Is there anything else I want to do? We still got a volume of fire going there. These guys automatically open up. Okay, so I need to change the volume of fire. And I believe the volume of fire now, I don't know, the Panzerschreck's got limited ammo, but I'm not playing with ammo in this. So I don't have to worry about his shell, so I think I can just fire with his grenades. I'm not calling in my own little mortar team here, and I'm not worried about ammo with them either. To be fair, I'm not keeping track of the enemy's ammo either, so everyone's basically got the unlimited ammo perk right now. At a minimum, I get to have automatic fire up here, but I believe I get to go with a grenade. So let's switch this out for a grenade. And it will tell you again in your scenario whether or not that's going to be -4 or -3. For this scenario, it is going to be -4 for everyone, enemy and my units. All right, so that was just one order with first platoon. I don't think I want to do anything else with him. Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I just don't think there's anything else I got to do with first platoon. I might as well bank these orders for a rainy day because I'm not going to be order heavy like this. Again, I've got fire going forward. I don't want to move any. I mean, I could have spread out to the hill or done some other stuff. I don't want to do that just yet. I want to kind of be slow and methodical about it. So yeah, I think we're good here. I think we're going to bank the rest of these orders. So that's first platoon. And we're going to do the same stuff that I just did with first platoon. We're going to do that with second platoon and third platoon, try to move them forward. And before anyone comments, yes, I know I'm just a touch above the cover limit over here. And I can only have one cover marker. One on a farm? Oh, wait. I'm on a farm. It doesn't have to be this marker. I can have a different marker. I can have a building marker that gives better cover. Ha! I'm glad I checked that. I went ahead and drew for it. There is a card draw to see what cover marker you get. And it is depending on different terrain. So whatever terrain you're in can affect it. But I actually got a strong building instead of the just regular basic cover marker. Yeah, that is nice. That's a good casualty evacuation point here. Now I've got something going. Now we're cooking with gas. So these guys are pretty safe right here. Now we're going to repeat this process over here, except second platoon's going to have to do it all on his own. He doesn't have the XO with him to help, but he's got extra orders to do this, and I'm still going to have some general orders coming to me. So let me draw real quick. Since we're moving so many units, I am definitely going to have to be drawing some extra cards or shuffling deck. I'm already more than halfway through my deck, and I haven't even got through one turn yet. All right, so we're going to spend 2 orders, down to 3, to issue a platoon infiltrate again up here. Give me a sec as I rapidly go through this. All right, same thing as before, except we got a few different units. All right, platoon commander is over here. Another squad, the grenades again, because I'm trying to protect those. And then machine guns, the bazooka, and some other guys are exposed. Now, something I want to do is I want to try to reconstitute some stuff. Oh, wait. We're going to spend one more order to remove that, the pinned marker. That means this lat team is no longer exposed either. So they're over there. And where's their squad? I have a two-step squad here somewhere. Okay. I think I can issue an order to turn them into a... Yeah, that's right. I can issue an order to turn them into a fire team and then issue an order to reconstitute the squad. And since they are not under fire, those should be automatic. Yep. That is correct. If they are unpinned, no volume of fire, all that good stuff, then I can replace the litter team with a fire team and then the fire team to reconstitute the squad. So these guys go to such. So now they are reconstituted and whole. That is yummy. Perfect. So I've got some guys that are exposed. Let's space those out so I know what it is. On the left, these guys are exposed and these dummies are not exposed, but they still got a little cover. Unfortunately, that is all the orders for second platoon commander, so he cannot issue any seek cover orders. This area can support up to 2 cover markers. I'd like to have more so I could get some of these units into cover. And we got the gully over here. We're gonna again do some drawing, and after I get these guys moving, I'm definitely gonna have to reshuffle my deck because I'm almost out of cards. And we'll move this stuff forward. And again, I'm not deploying this stuff. They have it so they can communicate back, but a field telephone, simply having it on this card basically constitutes as having a wire there. So you can have a wire or telephone here, right? And let's say that's there, staging area back here. They can communicate. You don't have to have a wire too. If you have a wire, say up here, and a squad over here, they could talk all the way back. Basically, as long as you've got wires and phones in between you and wherever you're trying to communicate, you're considered to be in communication, right? So that works. And I carried a lot of this wire with me. We used it with what we call the anger system, and that was from Vietnam era technology. The way we would fix it is if it ever stopped working, and it constantly stopped working, is the technique they taught us in school and in combat was to take that piece of gear, lift it up real high, and slam it down as hard as you could, and it would start working again. And what it was is it was this big speaker box that you would wire in to the radios or to the field phones, and it basically allowed you to talk. Right? It was kind of like a crude field telephone, but you could attach it to the radio, so it would allow you to talk through the radio over a period of a distance. It was very crude, older technology that really got outpaced with better equipment. Like the Prick 119 was something I used a lot, but we also used the smaller 148s, and then I used the 117, which is satellite phone, which they haven't ever shown in Fields of Fire, but of course that's later technology. All right, third platoon, he's got 4 orders. We'll use 2. We're going to do the thing. Give me a sec. I don't know if I got enough cards left. Let's start drawing them out. All right, I'm trying to position these so I know I got it right. Let me grab another exposed marker, and I can't find one now. Here we go. These guys are exposed. So this column is exposed. This column is not exposed. And this column, the third platoon commander, I'm going to put him under that cover marker with these guys. So they're together. And I can only have one cover marker here. So we'll leave our two commander units, first sergeant and the third platoon commander, in the mortar team there. These guys are just there. They are not exposed. And the tank is obviously not exposed as well. So just these guys, but all that's going to go away at the end of this turn. And let me grab their equipment as well. The first sergeant has a radio he can use. So I'll just stack all that at the bottom to remember that I've got it. So that takes care of all of these characters, these units. I still have tanks in the staging area that I need to move up. Now, someone said something about this game being crowded very much with the counters. And yes, it is. The cards can get very densely packed with the counters. It's easier if you are playing at home, not filming it, because you can space your cards out a lot more than I can. I have to try to keep mine condensed in so I can cram in as many as possible. But if you're playing by yourself, absolutely space these out. Give 2-3 inches in between all the cards. That way you've got room to really spread those counters out if you need to, and you can know which card they're on. All right, give me a sec. I got 3 cards left. I got to reshuffle my action deck again. All right, so that leaves third platoon with 2 orders, which I believe I will save because I don't have anything else I can do with them just yet. I can't do anything with the tanks yet. I have to activate them later, but I am going to be moving some. So I'm going to put move markers on the ones I'm going to move, which are going to be these 2. You guys will see them in a sec. They're going to come around. I'm going to leave the HQ tank back in the rear. And actually, I'm going to move him over 1 as well. But he's going to be activating. And the platoon first sergeant will also bank his 1 order as well. So I'm not going to order anything for him. All right. I don't do the tanks yet. And now I got to do general. And the only thing I can do for general is the just general initiative, because I have no command staff that has not been activated. The tanks are going to go, but they haven't gone yet. Now, let's see. General orders. General orders are going to be 3. Of course, they're going to be 3 when I don't need them. And there's nothing I could use them for. I'm already going to be issuing the orders to those guys to move. So there's really nothing I can do there. Yeah, I don't want to move anyone else forward yet. I want to keep the CO in the rear. And in fact, we'll just use one of those general orders, or those general orders regardless, just to move the CO over by 1, just in case I want to move him into the casualty evacuation point. And the forward observer and the artillery forward observer, we're going to move them over by 1. That way they're more centralized to handle stuff, but I'm still keeping them in the staging area. So that takes care of my general initiative orders. Now, I have to do the enemy stuff. All right, so offensive phase. This is where we figure out if the enemy is going to have an HQ event, and then we figure out what their paralyzed teams are going to do, because they have yet to activate. More than likely, they're going to fall back, or they can potentially rally and become fire teams and start putting fire at me again, which would suck because I've got exposed guys, but at least it would just be small arms fire. So it's not a huge deal. After I do that, then I can move my tanks up. So let's go ahead and handle that very quickly. For enemy HQ, we've got nothing, so don't have to worry about that. With your enemy activation, you're going to have the little chart here. This is the side I was looking at for the front for their defensive activity. I actually have to flip it over and go to enemy LAT pinned activity check. So if they were offensive, they'd be here. It would issue them orders to like come forward. And for their limited action teams, here's where I'm going to be looking. So we have 2 paralyzed. They're on separate cards. They're taking fire, but they are in fighting positions, and they have no leader. So that's the differential over here with the column. So I look for no leader. Okay, Okay, I'm not 100% on which one of these I should be doing. And I'm kind of leaning both directions. I don't know. I think they qualify here. They're pinned and they're undercover. And they have the potential to rally. And they have no leader. So I think I draw for here. But then I look here and it's paralyzed team not on opposing unit's card. But that's all the way at the bottom. And you're supposed to start top, work your way down, and then go with the first one that fits. I'm going to go as it reads. The first one that fits, they're pinned undercover. I think this fits. I think there's a good chance I'm wrong here. So if I am wrong, I'll annotate it in the next one. But I think there's a good chance that, I don't know, I'm 50-50. I could go either way. This is one of those I'm kind of reading both ways. I'm just going to go with the first one on the list. They're pinned, they're undercover. We'll draw for it. They are drawing out of 4. They got a 1, so that's going to be no action. That's for the left team. For the right team, drawing out of 4, they got a 1. They are doing nothing, so no action. This is a very non-acting enemy team. I think they got unlucky that I just shuffled right before this happened. All right. That takes care of the enemy activations. Where's my sequence of play? They would do any mutual capture and retreat phase. There's no one to capture. There's no CS. They are pinned, so they're not going to retreat. Yeah. All those guys are pinned, so they're not retreating. So I think I just leave as is, and I just go to the mutual combat phase, but I do move my tanks prior to that. So let's see, tanks, the ones that I'm moving, we're going to move this one up. We're going to move this one up, move this one over, just to be in the middle, just in case. I'll take these off. And I don't think I have to change any of my volumes of fire markers for this because they're already under grenade. Actually, these guys should be under grenade as well. Now that I think about it, they should be under grenade. So they should be under -4. I think they're pretty well screwed at this point. They've got some positives coming there. These guys are getting crossfired, but they're getting big negative now. So they're probably going to be killed off. And I do believe we go to mutual combat phase and then cleanup phase. So remove existing incoming airstrike, blah, blah, blah. Flip pending markers to their active side. Potential contact. This is where you resolve your potential contact evaluation. Flip it and blah, blah, blah. Removed pin markers from any vehicle or infantry units that are not under volume of fire. These guys are still under volume of fire. I already rallied my guys. Oh, shit. I didn't even have to spend an order to do that. I could have saved those orders, but oh well. That was my mistake. And combat effects segment. Damn, I should have waited till there. That cost me an order. That cost me like 3 orders. Combat effects segment. Do not adjust volume of fire. Yep. For each infantry unit on a card, determine it. All right, so we will do, let's see, fire activated AT capable units. Doesn't matter, they're under the grenades anyway. So let's go to our combat resolution. We'll start left, work our way right. All right, infantry combat. These guys are getting a total net combat modifier. They are under -4. And they're getting +1 for the pin, +1 for the foxholes, and +2 for the woods. So they're 0. They are 0. Damn, that sucks. I'm hitting them with all that, and they're all messed up, and they're still 0. All right, for 0, it's a hit. That takes care of that problem. They're screwed, and their line paralyzed. So I believe that just turns them into casualties if they are already paralyzed. Nope, I am wrong. A paralyzed team that draws a paralyzed just remains paralyzed. So they're still paralyzed and pinned. And let's draw for these guys. They should be lower because they're getting -4 and -1 here for the crossfire. They're getting 1, 2, 3. So it's a -2. -2 is a hit, and a hit does casualty. Oh, damn, that's a hard hit. Casualty, casualty. So that just flat out kills them. Yay. Okay, and we can just flip them over. I do believe I can capture casualties. So that takes care of them. The other paralyzed team still stands the chance to rally later on. What the hell? Some counter stuck to my hand, came flying on the board. Anyway, these guys were under heavier fire and had less modifiers helping them out, so that made a difference. Now we can go to our end of sequence, end of turn. Cleanup phase. Remove pyrotechnic. Evacuate casualties from cards designated as casualty evacuation. So if I move up here later, I can capture those guys for points. That's nice. Enemies firing cards. And I do not automatically shift fire. I have to give an order to do that. So I would have to give an order to shift fire over here to get them in a crossfire. My units don't automatically do that. Enemy units do that. But for casualty units, I don't believe you resolve a attack against them. I'll check that just to make sure, but I don't believe that you do. I don't think you kill casualties. They're pretty much already casualties. Reset any mine markers, removed any unresolved PC markers. I've already resolved all these previously in the wrong order. So expose marker off, expose marker off, expose marker off. All right, that takes care of this turn. I've got everybody up. Now they're moving up. I've only got line of sight to here because all these cards are blocking the line of sight. FYI, people pointed out that the cards down here, I shouldn't be using those because they're the Normandy ones. You're supposed to use once from the other deck. I don't care. The deck's big. There's still that many cards that haven't been used for this game. 4 cards, screw it. And it's not that big of a deal to me. I'd rather make sure I don't accidentally intermingle the cards, and I will be dumb enough to do that. So at the end of turn 2, I'll set this to turn 3, we're actually in a good position. And I spent an order with the tanks, and I'll save the rest of his orders. FYI, I forgot to flip that marker. The 3 cards here all have tanks on them. Bring that off because he's already activated. That's already done. We've established our casualty collection point. We've got all of our platoons with their attached units up. Our forward observers are still in the rear with the CO. He's probably going to stay there. As these guys move forward, I could leave phone lines to have communications back to the rear. And one of the good things is, let's say I moved this platoon up here, right? So they're here, they got their phone, but they don't leave a phone line. If all my units moved up and I just left one phone line here, all 3 groups here, as long as nothing else happened going on, as long as there's a phone line here, that gives me a line of communication back to the rear because I can trace it to the staging area from cards that are adjacent. So it's all right. It's not horribly difficult to keep communications as long as you plan ahead. Now, I am unsure about how that combat worked out there just a little bit. I could be wrong on how I resolved it. I don't think it would have made a huge difference on how it would have played out because it was either rally or no action. So, yeah. Or fall back. Yeah, fallback was the one potential. They both got no action, so it was a 1 or a 2. And with no leader, they automatically do no action. Yeah, they can't even... Damn. I might have done that right inadvertently. You guys let me know. Paralyzed team not on opposing unit's card. That applies, well, it did, but so does pinned under cover. They were pinned under cover, but they were paralyzed. The more I think about it, the more I think it's the bottom one, since it specifically says paralyzed. But I don't see why the paralyzed, because my paralyzed guys can rally. I can rally a paralyzed to a litter and then a litter back to a fire team. So why can't their paralyzed rally? Can they only rally if they've got a leader? I don't know. Both make sense. If you guys know in the comments, definitely let me know. I think I might have potentially played that wrong. I still got the right result for the wrong reason. But all right, that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Y'all stay tuned. I'll have another one up as soon as I can. Y'all take care. I'll catch you in the next one.